Begin the questioning and recognize myself for 5 minutes. So as I mentioned in my opening statement, we sent a letter in December. Chairwoman Kathy Morris Rogers and I, then in her ranking position, and I sent the letter to Secretary Granholm requesting a briefing including specific information on the department's efforts to scrutinize Microvast. On February 1st, we got a letter back saying that you all were carrying out the review process for the project, and the department, quote, would be pleased to provide more information on the status of Microvast and other selectees under the battery materials funding opportunity announcement when the due diligence phase has been completed. Now, at least as far as Microvast was concerned, that due diligence phase was completed on May 22nd. So the question is, when are we going to get the answers to the questions we asked in December, basically dealing with, what is the process, what are you doing, and how do you vet these various companies that are coming in? And you can appreciate, I hope, the concern that when you see a company that says in its SEC filing that they're an arm of the Chinese Communist Party, that something wasn't going right then. Later it became right. So I'd like to hear that process, if you would tell us. The process for the vetting of these companies to make sure that they're going to actually be making up things in America for Americans, by Americans, and with American technology being used here, or at least us having the capability of getting that technology.
Thank you for your question, Congressman Griffith. Can you hear me? Is this on? Okay.
I can hear you. Go.
Oh, good. So the vetting process in terms of the BIL awards that you mentioned, in particular Microvast, as you know, the selections were made through a competitive solicitation that went through the summer, and part of that vetting process started with that solicitation process, where we identified companies that were compelling in terms of selecting them for the negotiation of award. Once selections are made, that's when detailed negotiations are started.
Okay, and in fairness, that most of us did not understand that because it appeared from the press statements that these people were awardees. But you're telling me that's when the vetting actually began, the in-depth vetting began.
The in-depth vetting began the day after those announcements. There was also in-depth vetting in terms of the technical capacity and capabilities of the companies before that to go to actually make those selections. But those were selections for negotiation of award.
And what were the reasons then for denying the Microvast?
Okay.
Award?
So thank you for your concerns about Microvast, a company selected for the negotiation of an award under the funding opportunity. So Microvast is a majority U.S.-owned company traded under NASDAQ and headquartered in Stafford, Texas, with additional locations in Tennessee, Florida, and Colorado. With DOE funding, the company's matching financial investment, with the company's matching financial investment, Microvast proposed to build a polyaramid separator material production plant in Clarksville, Tennessee.
I got all that, but okay. How do you square that with their statement to the Securities and Exchange Commission?
So
if they're majority U.S. owned, how can the Chinese Communist Party, through its government, the Chinese government, say? Why would they say that they could be stopped or change course because of what the government said in China?
So simply because Microvast's major production operations are in China.
Okay.
So 90% of their production operations are in China.
All right. And you vetted, next question, and I apologize, we only get 5 minutes. So my next question would then be, and so all of the other companies that you vetted do not have that problem?
That is correct.
So all the rest of these companies, or if we go in and pick out any one of the ones you named or some others, we're going to find that they don't have these ties to the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese Communist government.
They don't have what, sir?
The ties.
So there was one company that we were concerned with, additional to Microvast, as you've mentioned.
Amprius.
Amprius, and we, after the vetting process, we agreed mutually not to go forward
with
the award.
All right. So the vetting process is working, at least in that regard.
It is working very well, and we're actually enhancing that vetting process. And so it's, I would say it's an enhanced vetting process at this point. And one of the things that we've changed is part of the vetting that we do right after the award, like SEC filings, we'll do before selection now. So we'll do more vetting before selection on these awards as we go forward. That was the typical DOE process, that after selection of award, then we go into detailed negotiations, which includes SEC filing, a look at the SEC filings of the company. And so we will actually be doing that before selection of award from now on.
Yeah, I didn't, as my Democrat colleagues are so apt to point out, I did not agree with the way things were done and some of the focus of the bill, so I didn't vote for it. But now that we're here, I want to make sure the American taxpayer dollars are spent correctly, and I appreciate your testimony here today, and I yield back.